I just got a new Oblique skiving knife, and this video shows how I assembled a raised and lined leather edgeguard for it. I design my projects in the computer and use the drawings to make the molds, so I like to use the same laser cutter to cut out glue-up jigs in 1/8 inch acrylic at the same time to make it easier to cut out and assemble accurately. Economically speaking, high-quality vegetable tanned leather costs more than the materials used in the molds and jigs, so making shop jigs helps avoid shaping and cutting mistakes. This mold is 1/4 inch on the outside, and the inside raises are 1/8 inch with 1/8 inch birch dowels for reference pins. The back is raised to hold 2 rectangular earth magnets, and the front is raised circles to act as a grip and decoration. I have good luck molding 3 to 4 ounce vegetable tanned leather when the mold is offset about 1/16 of an inch, and I always let it dry completely before cutting it out and punching stitching holes. I hand dyed the surface in the colors that I wanted and glued the magnets and leather backing into the lining leather. The part of the leather inside the edgeguard that comes in contact with the blade, I made the flesh side and glued the lining to the opening to be stitched into place, but left the remaining so it can be pulled and glued flat after the opening is stitched and cut out. Sand and bevel the edge surface, then burnish and apply edge paint is a popular way to finish the raw edges of molded leather shapes, and it is easier to do before the edgeguard is sewn together. I glued and stitched a strip of leather around the opening of the edgeguard to help keep the top open, and left the ends to be rolled over and glued when the gussets are attached. When you glue in a lining leather, a glue-up jig helps to apply even pressure to create a better bond. Glue the flat gusset to one side and stitch mark the holes through both layers to make it easier to punch the awl through the last layer when it is glued up. Small electrical clips work great to help keep the seam straight while it is being glued too. When you're stitching and you're about to run out of thread, you will need to add some. So first we need to do 2 or 3 back stitches and tie off the thread. An excellent tool to use to open the hole up for the needle to pass through is a scratch awl. And small pliers can help pull the needle through, especially when you're doubling up when you're back stitching or tripling up when you're changing thread. When you're passing your needle through the hole, it is easy to snag a thread, especially when you're putting several stitches through the same hole, so the best way to catch a snagged thread is to move the needle in the hole back and forth a few times. If you do not pull the needle through the thread, you will need to cut it out and rethread your needle. Another tool I find very helpful is a thread zapper. Then with the new thread, backstitch over the last stitch and carry on. A tip to match the stitching holes is to go very slow as you are pushing your awl, and look for a tiny bulge where the tip is about to come through. At this point you can adjust as needed before breaking the surface. Also try to pull your awl straight back, never at an angle as you retract your awl from the hole to avoid breaking the seam. Scoring a line helps to keep your stitching from breaking through the top of the seam too, and have your needle ready to pass through the hole while it is easy to find, and don't have to be opening the hole again with your sharp awl. To close the gap at the top, glue and stitch a small piece of leather with simple back stitching. Stitch the base of the fold, then pass one of the needles through the middle and over the seam. Stitch it like you normally would and punch the stitching holes as needed. In this case it was 3 stitches. Then back stitch to the starting stitch and stitch the other side. Because of the extra stitches going through the same hole, be careful not to break the seam at the joining stitch. Finish the edge guard, cut away the extra gusset leather, then sand, edge bevel, burnish, and paint the edges, and rub on a little leather conditioner. Earth magnets are handy to use, but they are also breakable, so when you use them in an edge guard, you do not want to be overly rough with them.